Okay, I think we're live.
Yeah.
All right. Hi, everyone who's possibly watching this or possibly watching this later on YouTube. My name is Joe Hennes. I am one of the co-owners of ToughPigs.com. And who are you?
I'm Jarrod Fairclough. I took over the Muppet mindset from Ryan Dozier about 8 months ago now, and I've been running it ever since.
All right. And this is the first time that you and I have met, which is weird.
This is. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. I feel like this is like Muppet fan history happening right now.
There's going to be a movie about this one day.
Aaron Sorkin's going to write this screenplay about people talking and walking.
Mark Maron's going to play you.
Mark Maron? All right, I'll take that.
And probably Jason Segel's going to play me.
Can Jason Segel do an Australian accent?
Can I do an Australian accent?
Well, for you, it's just a voice.
I don't have an accent.
No, right, exactly. I guess. I don't know. So anyway, so the whole point of this thing is that right now, so the date is January 29th, which means that in a couple of days, we're going to be seeing, was it the 11th episode of the Muppets?
Yep.
And that is the first episode since the whole change of regime.
The reboot, for lack of a better term.
Reboot, which is not really a reboot.
No, not at all.
Right. So I thought this was a good opportunity to kind of touch base and see what we think about the show and what our expectations are for the next few episodes. And then I guess in a few days we'll see if our dreams all come true. Meanwhile, I can already see people are starting to chit-chat on our YouTube page. We are keeping an eye on the chat. We are reading your questions and your comments. So if you have any questions for us or if you want to comment on anything we're talking about, please feel free to shout out and we will see it and we'll try to respond as best we can.
Lovely. Right. Okay. How many have we got? Let's see. We got... all right.
Are you looking at the names of people who are watching?
Yeah, I'm just seeing if anyone's asked any questions yet. Most questions are, wait, how does this work?
Well, we're new to this too, so bear with us. I can already see a few people from ToughPigs, both writers and people from our forum are here. Matthew Soberman and Evan, who are both writers for us, are here. Hi, guys. Jess and Eric, who are members on our forum, are here. Hello, everybody. Hi, Jess. But we'll see if more people show up. I'm hoping that people will just kind of tune in while we're talking about Muppets.
So. Tell me what your thoughts are for this reboot, because it's not a reboot, and I hate that term, and I don't want to use that term, but unfortunately, that's the only term we've got for it. Do you think the show needed whatever this reboot is?
That's a good question. I'm not sure because I really enjoy the show. I think it's great. I think it's if they had gone on their current trajectory, although I have minor problems with it, I think it could have been really great. But I say that selfishly. We can't keep thinking about what's best for the Muppet nerds. We kind of have to think about what's best for like the average person who's tuning into ABC on a Tuesday night. And unfortunately, like there's certain issues with things like Piggy being so unlikable and Kermit being so depressed and some of the material being so dark or adult and certain aspects that I think the Muppets are really known for that are being ignored, like musical numbers and chickens and penguins and bears and dogs and things. And so for that reason, I think it's really important that they make updates. And I think it's also, any show that I watch where I'm watching the first half of the first season and maybe not so happy about it, I feel like you always have to give it to the break. And then once you get to the break where we are right now, that's when the people who are producing the show know that they have enough time to listen to see what the fans are saying and what is working, what's not working, and they can kind of retool a little bit. So the stuff that we're going to be seeing right now, I think, is a response to all of that, and it's going to be, I don't know, I'm like really optimistic with what we're going to be seeing. But what about you? What do you think about the possible retooling, rebooting, whatever you call it?
Look, I think it's necessary to bring a lot more heart to the show, because while there were definitely, you look at episodes like Going, Going, Gonzo, Single All the Way, was that the Christmas one? Those episodes had a lot of heart and stuff to them, whereas the earlier episodes didn't. Like the first and second episode, yeah, they had a little, but I mean, I think, and I also have an issue with those two episodes being the first two episodes, because the average viewer only ever watched the first two episodes and went, nah, I'm out. And they are not a true representation of what the show became. So, like you said, they needed to almost give it to the break to see the change that occurred in the first half of that season. But while I think the show does need more Muppety sort of things, like we need more, like I think we're getting a Vet's Hospital, a Swedish Chef segment. While I think they are necessary in some way, I also hope that the show doesn't become reliant on them, because then it's almost becoming the Muppet Show again. Right. Whereas this isn't the Muppet Show. This is the Muppets. Right. And a completely different. And so while I can understand going back on that nostalgia, I also don't think it's as necessary as some other people do.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm actually, when you were talking about like Vet's Hospital and Swedish Chef and stuff, it got me thinking. I wonder how, like, in the universe of the Muppets, how they're going to justify, like, hey, we should ask that guy who runs the bar across the street if he wants to be on our show, because that's not really a thing that happens. I mean, I know they know about history with Rolf, but like in the world of that show, he's the bar. He has a job. Like, he doesn't need to come over and pretend to be, a soap opera actor telling bad jokes.
Well, that's it. I've always, though, thought these are the characters, like, after they've done the Muppet Show. This is like 10 years afterwards, they've said, let's do something else. Rolf's like, yeah, I don't really want to be part of the show. I'm going to go run a bar instead. That's, in my mind, how not that there's any type of Muppet continuity, because it doesn't exist, but in my mind, that's how it's working.
Yeah, Eric is making a good point that Letterman brought random people onto his show. I remember it was the Sear Jewel Mujaber. They like ran the store next door or something like that, and he sent them all over the world. The guy ran Hello Deli next door. I remember him doing stuff with him. So that's a really good point. Matt Silverman has a question for us. He's asking, now that the Muppets is being pushed back from 8 to 8:30, do we think that's going to have an impact on the ratings? What do you think?
I don't know how ratings work as much overseas as they do here, because here, like, over there, 800,000 people watching something it's tanked. It's not done very well at all. Here, that's a pretty well rating show. Mm-hmm. So the ratings haven't always made a lot of sense to me. So I'm not sure I'm probably qualified almost to answer that question.
I could see it going either way, because it was such a. It seemed like such a huge idea to have the Muppets on at 8 and leading the entire Tuesday night lineup for ABC. I don't know if Fresh Off the Boat is like going to be a better lead-in, like all the people who are tuning in for that, or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe they think that people are going to tune into 8 to watch the thing at 8:30. I also don't know how they're going to measure that, like the reason that people tune in. The good thing is, I'm just really glad they're not changing the night that it's on, because even if people haven't yet heard that the Muppets have been moved from 8 to 8:30, if they tune in on Tuesday at 8 and they see, oh, my show's not on, but there's a promo saying it's going to be on right after this, then I'm still going to stick around and watch it. Like, it's not like, oh, wait, it's moved to Fridays now, and then you try to remember to tune in on Friday and you can't. Eric is telling us right now that Muppets and Fresh Off the Boat had pretty equal ratings. So I'm not really sure what the reasoning is. I don't know. That's a really good.
I'm interested here. I'm assuming Hilsey 4077. That is How awful's this? I've forgotten her name. That's awful. I've met her in the flesh and everything. I've hung out with her.
Oh no!
But I know, and she knows that that's nothing personal. But sorry,
There's so much going on. Like there's
so much going on.
Muppets backs flying at you from every direction. It's confusing. I get it.
But she's made a point of saying that the Muppets was cancelled in Australia after 2 episodes.
Is that true?
Yeah, it aired here in a terrible time slot at I think it was 7:30 on a Tuesday, which is fine, but it was also the 29th of December. And they played the first 2, and like as I said to you before, the first 2 episodes aren't the greatest representation of the show. And then that's it. They decided they weren't going to show it anymore.
It's interesting that you're using the word canceled because it was removed from their schedule, but the show wasn't canceled. The show was only...
No, sorry.
No, I mean, it's an interesting concept because, like, here in America, 95 to 99% of our TV shows are domestic. We don't have... They have a few British shows, but that's about it.
Yeah. Sorry, that was Marnie. Marnie.
Yeah. Marnie. Hi, Marnie.
Sorry, Marnie. Sorry. You know that it's nothing personal.
So what are you hoping for aside from the stuff that we already heard about, like more songs and sketches and chickens and whatever? What are you hoping to see in the next few episodes of the Muppets before the end of the season?
I want to see the Muppets being Muppets again. One of the best things I think about with the show is that someone said that if you can't, what was it? If you can do the story with humans, then it's not a Muppet show.
I think I may have told you that.
You very well might have. I know someone said it.
Yeah, no, that's something I say. I'd say to a lot of people about just like, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just going to repeat the same exact thing. Like, if it's a story that doesn't have to have Muppets in it, then why are you having Muppets? You should have them doing something that that you can't see anywhere else on TV.
Exactly right. And I mean, that's why I think an episode like Going, Going, Gonzo works, because like that last 2 minutes made the entire episode, because you have Gonzo flying out in a cannon.
Yeah.
Or him swinging around the set with his rope. Sorry, he was put on that rope. Yeah. That was the Muppets, and that's why those episodes worked so much.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to see more of that sort of thing.
Yeah. That's a good answer. It's funny because I think a lot of the things that I want are things that would make it slightly more similar to the old Muppet Show, and that's not a good idea because we really shouldn't be relying on, I guess, more nostalgia because they should be creating something new, and comparisons to the old stuff is just never a good idea, or too many comparisons, I should say. There's a few things that I want, one of which is I feel like they haven't really been using the guest stars very well. Some of them kind of like come in for a cameo. They're all kind of playing the same kind of celebrity. They're definitely, for the most part, interchangeable. Like none of them are like, I feel like they write the script and then who's available. Christina Applegate, we'll just let her read the lines, whatever. And with the old Muppet Show, it's very rare that you would see something like that. I mean, maybe like anyone can technically sing a song, but like, I don't know. And that also came from the idea that they didn't start writing their episode until after they met with the celebrity. So that would be a really cool thing to see.
I think they've said that they're going to use the celebrities more as cameos rather than big parts of the story, like Reese Witherspoon, Liam Hemsworth, and stuff like that. So I think.
Yeah, that I mean, that's fine if that's what they want to do. But then, again, I'm asking, so why are you having celebrities at all, except to promote the episode? And especially, when I see people like, I'm really excited about this next episode with Key and Peele. Have you watched it yet? We got screeners for because we're pressed, but I haven't watched them yet.
You haven't watched it? I've watched them both.
You did? Okay.
11 episodes.
All right, so I haven't seen them yet, so no spoilers. Obviously, we won't spoil anyway. But I love Key and Peele. Like, I am a huge Key and Peele fan, and I'm so excited to see them on the new Muppet Show. But if they just kind of come in, they're like, "Oh, hey, Gonzo," and then they walk off screen, then like, how disappointing is that going to be? What a wasted opportunity.
All right, so obviously I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'll tell you now that I think you'll be very happy with it.
Okay, good.
They have a couple of very, very funny scenes.
Good. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm sure everyone is.
All
So
right.
Matt Silverman is asking us, favorite characters aside, who has been our MVP, most valuable puppeteer?
I'm going with Eric.
Explain.
So Eric has so much to do in this show. He's got Piggy, he's got Fozzie, who have both been giant parts of every episode. And then he's got Animal, he's got Sam, and I'm sure there's probably someone else I'm forgetting. But with all those main characters all having so much to do, I'm surprised he's not getting worn out because I mean he probably has the most to do out of any of them.
Yeah,
And he's nailing it every single time.
that's a good answer. My gut reaction was I wanted to say Matt Vogel because of like everything he does is so memorable. And he's also like, I mean, I guess all of them except for maybe Dave Goelz have that challenge of kind of keeping these older characters alive. But I feel like Matt's done a really good job at that, particularly because of, especially Uncle Deadly, and
Yeah.
but also like Sweetums has had some really great scenes that like I can't imagine Richard Hunt's Sweetums riding a bike, but I can totally see Matt Vogel's Sweetums riding a bike.
Yeah.
Like Floyd
I
has
can't
been
say-
really good. I'm really happy with his Floyd. His Floyd seems like a paranoid hipster to me now, as opposed to just some kind of burnt out rock star, which I'm kind of enjoying.
Yeah, no, he's pretty. I mean, again, not to spoil anything, but Deadly in episode 11, he's fantastic. He's got
Good.
he's got a little C plot, and it's fantastic.
Good. And I'm sure everyone knows now because you probably cut this link on Twitter that Uncle Deadly is now tweeting, which is fantastic. Like, did you ever think that we would see a time when Uncle Deadly, of all characters, would have his own Twitter account and people would actually want to follow him?
He's a surprise celebrity. Like a lot of people are saying they're amazed that Scooter's become such a big deal. But I mean, like Scooter was always around. You look at Deadly; he made what, like 3 appearances on the Muppet Show,
Yeah.
and then disappeared for 25 years.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Scooter too, because I remember like in the '90s. I mean, I know that Richard Hunt was gone at that point, but even just like looking back to like recent stuff, like Scooter was always around, but like since like he was one of the core characters in that joined the Muppets in the Muppet movie, and he's with the core group in Muppets Take Manhattan, and he's one of the Muppet Babies. And I remember always thinking like he seemed like the odd man out when it came to that stuff because like he was always there, but like he wasn't like Kermit and Gonzo and Fozzie. Like he was just like that guy he happened to like get grandfathered in. And now I feel like they're finally paying that off and like allowing him to be a core member of the group as opposed to just like oh, he's an old character, so we just kept him.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Walter and bringing him back? Because I've seen a lot of people passionate on both sides.
Yeah. Well, so I'm trying to decide if I should. Okay, so I was talking to Peter Linz once, and I asked him. This was before the new show started.
Yep.
And like we knew that they were going to be filming the show. I don't think that they had even seen scripts yet, so they didn't really know what to expect. And I asked him, how do you see Walter's role in the show? Because he's not a showrunner, he's not an actor. I mean, he whistles, but that's a shtick. That's not like his whole purpose of being. So what does he have that he can actually provide for like in universe for the Muppets? Not that everyone necessarily needs something, but if you're going to be a main character, I feel like you kind of do. And as we can see on the show, like Uncle Deadly's, Miss Piggy's, stylist, and Scooter books the talent, and Chips and IT, like everyone fell into a place. So what he wanted to see, and this obviously didn't necessarily happen because Walter's not on the show, but he wanted Walter to be Kermit's personal assistant, So
Mhm.
not like Yolanda, who's kind of his secretary or whatever. Like this is someone who like he would be like a PA, and but
Mhm.
secretly he's running a Muppet fan site because he
Yep.
just like that at his core. That's what Walter is. He's a fan. So
Mhm.
I thought that was really cool because I'm like, so you're basically confirming that Walter is us, is you and me. Like that's
Absolutely.
what we do. Like we love this stuff so much. We just want to write about it all the time. And so obviously that didn't happen. I think there's still potential for that to happen
Yeah.
because he could be a fan of Up Late with Miss Piggy. I saw
Mhm.
someone recently on our forum say something along the lines of like he should like be a fan of Statler and Waldorf and like just pop up that way. Someone had a great idea. This is a fantastic idea, and a part of me is really hoping that someone from Disney, from that works on the Muppets, is watching this
Yeah.
because this is just a fantastic idea that I wish I could take credit for. Is that Walter is shooting the documentary that we are watching,
Mhm.
which makes
Yeah.
sense. Like who else would care about it? Like this documentary style TV show
Yeah.
about what happens behind the scenes of this talk show that we'd never actually get to see.
Well, as I've
I would love
announced Twitter and stuff like that before, I went to the set about 6 weeks ago, as a guest of
that.
Peter, and we got talking about Walter and his role and how he could come back. And he's extremely passionate about it. I think the new showrunner has some ideas. I don't know exactly what they are. I don't know whether or not we'll see it before the end of season 1. If there's a season 2, I'm hoping we'll get something. But I wouldn't count him out as yet.
That's good. I feel like if they wanted to count him out, they would have written him out. They would have
Yeah.
found a reason for him to not be there anymore, and we wouldn't really be seeing him in things like he's in that acapella Muppet Show theme song video that we saw recently. I think. Actually, now I'm saying it out loud. I'm only assuming he is, but he was like in the that
Pretty
giant
cool.
trumpet video, and like he's like showing up in all the YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
So like they're not retiring him. He's just
No, he's
hasn't shown
still
up yet.
got. Yeah, he's still got a place. I think they're just having difficulty finding it.
Yeah, yeah. And the fact that now we know that we're going to be seeing like Camilla's coming back and they're going to be throwing in more like penguins and probably talking fruit and random rats and stuff like that. I think that opens up the opportunity to have him come back, even if it's just like Walter's hanging out in the background with New Zealand or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Yeah, Matt is reminding us that Walter was in the 10-minute pilot before the show started. That's true. Remember seeing him in the boardroom scene.
That's right.
Yeah.
Someone's written, "We need Skeeter." We do.
Yeah. There's so much potential there, and honestly, like I feel like if they were going to bring Skeeter in, if they didn't make her just like her character that Amy Meverson drew in the Muppet Show comic
Yeah.
book, like it would be a horrible disappointment. I feel like that's the character now, and it makes sense because she would be a great foil for Piggy. She
Mhm.
would be a new type of female character, which they desperately need because they only have 4 right now, maybe. But I don't know, and then give Scooter more to do than talk about his stepdad Ken.
Who I really like the idea of, but I think they're overdoing it a little bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I agree. It was hysterical for like 2 or 3 episodes, and now
Yeah.
I expect it every time he opens his mouth.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
a good
But look, I'm a big fan of Skeeter. I've been championing that for 3 years. But I mean, like, and with such great female puppeteers as well. Like,
Yeah.
when I was on the set, there was at least probably 6 or 7 female puppeteers there, and
Wow.
they were all just, performing one of the big group scenes. But you got 7 of them there. There's no reason one of them can't step up to the plate. I mean, you look at how great Julianne, was it Bashir?
Boucher, I think.
Yeah. You look at how great she's doing with Denise and Yolanda. Obviously they're just as good as the guys. Give them a go.
Yeah. Well, I think just as important, it's great that they're making an attempt at adding new characters. It's a little disappointing that they've only had one genuinely new character, and she's just kind of designed to be like an anti-Piggy, and of course about Denise. But I think it would be so great to see them expand the cast of characters and the puppeteers, because they've got 7 guys who are just kind of running around playing every single character, and I mean it's great for them, but other than Muppets and Sesame Street and some Henson stuff, there's really not much work for puppeteers out there. And I'd love to see that expanded for them. I mean, I'm not a performer, but I feel for them. I can't imagine getting into that field now and knowing unless you have the same trajectory as, David Rudman, you're never really going to get anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. Who else? So a couple of people are chiming in about Skeeter and Scooter and stuff like that.
And Kenny Durkin is making a good point here about the fact that Skeeter is a cartoon character based on a dream sequence in a movie Miss Piggy was in, and it's true. She doesn't really have a great origin, and she could be shoehorned in, which is not a good thing. But I genuinely just like the idea of they're adding a female character, and it's someone who's she's not Piggy, she's not Yolanda, she's not Camilla, she's not Janice. She is something completely different. And if we need to bring back this old character that was never really a puppet to begin with, then I think that would be worth it. I think it would be preferable if they were creating a new character from scratch, but I don't really know if that's that's not going to happen.
No. Or they could just bring back Caminella Grindelwald, but that's probably not going to happen.
That would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing.
That would be incredible. Just one episode, I think would be incredible, but it's never going to happen.
Oh, see, now my imagination's going all sorts of places. That would be amazing. So you got to visit the set. I haven't talked about this, but I also visited the set back in August.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, they were filming just the second episode. You watch the episode right at the beginning when Yolanda is having everyone sign the birthday card for Sweetums, and Zoot is drawing something, and she says, hey, no dirty pictures. And Zoot says, oh, maybe I can turn into a saxophone. That was the scene that we were there as they were filming, and we saw them do it over and over and over again, which was great. And for us, the cool thing was, as we're standing there, all of the puppeteers one by one were kind of coming up to us and, saying hi. And I think we had gotten to say hello to everyone except for Dave Goles, who was obviously very busy with Zoot at the moment, and Julianne Buescher with Yolanda. And David Rudman was not there that day, but everyone else, and it was really cool. Just they were all so excited, and at that point, nobody had seen anything except for the 10-minute pilot, and the vibe was so cool, and that set is amazing, just because you can tell when you watch on TV, it's a 360-degree set, so there's no fourth wall, there's no place where you can't turn the camera and film because there's no wall there. And, just to see the Muppets be able to kind of move through this very real environment kind of made the Muppets seem more real, despite the fact that we could see puppeteers underneath them at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead.
Well, obviously, I know that the whole thing is built up so they can stand up. But it's quite bizarre to be walking around and almost being halfway through the floor.
Yeah.
And just being that little bit shorter, and you go, oh, okay, so this is how it works. Obviously, we all know how it works, but being there is a little bit different.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Was that the first time you had been on a Muppet set?
That's the first time I've been on the Muppets. I've been to Sesame Street, which was back in 2008.
Cool.
I wasn't at the... I was on the actual set, as in the street, so that wasn't built up.
Right.
So this is the first time I've ever been, where everything's up higher with all those guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm putting a post up on Thursday about my set visit, so I can't say a lot because they were doing episode 11, and I don't want to spoil anything. All I'll say is that there's one particular scene that I was there for the whole thing, and they filmed that in like 3 different days. They filmed one scene in 3 days.
That's pretty cool.
It's quite surprising to watch and going, well, that's a different day than that day, but that's a different day than that day. So how does this work? And it's just been edited together amazingly well.
That's great. That's great. Well, I look forward to reading that. I'm not sure if my report will really get up there, just because I didn't have as much to say other than like, we saw this and it was cool, then we saw that and it was cool, and then they made us go home because we had to catch a flight.
Well, I made an effort to, because I was there for 2 days, and like I was speaking to you about this yesterday, and I'll go more into it in this article. But the first day I was there, 4 of them had food poisoning. So I ended up coming back on the Friday, and so when I've written my post, I've written half of it as I did this, then I did that, then I saw this, and then I've spent the rest of the time talking about who I met. So, Steve Whitmire, Eric Jacobson, Mike Quinn, Peter Linz, all those guys, and talking about just what I learned off them, and just sort of like the insight you have into actually watching these guys work for 4 hours. So I'm really happy with it. I need to go and rewrite a little bit of it now that I've seen episode 11, because there's certain things they've cut out that I've mentioned. But yeah, so that'll go up Thursday, so I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. That'll be fun. Did you get a lot of pictures when you were there?
So the Tuesday was the day they were all sick. They actually took my phone off me, which is procedure. Did that happen to you?
Yeah, they took our cell phones and cameras. Yeah.
And then I went back on the Friday, and they were like, yeah, take your phone, it's fine. So I've got quite a few behind-the-scenes photos just of them performing, things that I probably won't post. But I've got a couple of pictures that I'm definitely not allowed to do anything with, that I think I sent you. But, so it was good because I got photos like, I'm going to, I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's me and Kermit.
Great.
So that's my photo for everything for the rest of my life.
Love it.
So I took a lot of photos of, like, there's a couple going in this post on Thursday of like Kermit's bookshelf. And it was just interesting to read his bookshelf because some of them were, funny little titles, but then some of them were like real books. And apparently they spent a good week just going around random bookstores in Hollywood trying to find things that Kermit would have in his office. So yeah, I've made a point of pointing out a couple in this article, and then I've put the photos up as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, so, but I only got photos with Kermit and Fozzie. I would have liked more.
Yeah.
But, they were all obviously really busy, and
yeah. Well, I've seen people who have visited the set and they get like a million pictures. And so when we were there, they told us we could have one picture with one character, and that was it. And so we were actually, me and my friends were not the only people on that tour. And one of the people there was a little girl, and so we're like, well, we'll let her pick. Like, we're not going to be jerks to be like, we're going to choose, Nigel the conductor, and the little girl is just going to have to deal with it. So she wanted to meet Miss Piggy, and I was fine with that because I've been on. I've had a couple of pictures with Muppets, but I've never had a picture with Miss Piggy before. I was actually really excited about that. And we ended up getting, we asked for pictures on the set of Up Late with Miss Piggy with her behind the desk and us on the couch. So, like, I'm actually really pleased with that photo. But it's also like, they had a whole table with puppets. They could have just picked some up and taken some pictures for us. And I get it. Like, they wanted to have the real performer with the puppet. Like, it totally makes sense. Yeah. But I would have been okay with it. I would have been all right.
Yeah, it's funny you say, with the right performer, because on the Tuesday when they were all sick, they said, who do you want a photo with? And I went, well, I'd love one with Kermit. But Steve was one of the ones with food poisoning. So I think, was it Matt or Eric? One of them said, oh, well, look, we could put the puppet on, but it doesn't it won't have the same effect, I don't think. And like, it sits better on Steve's hand. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, fair enough. So Eric's like, look, we'll get a photo with Fozzie instead, which was great. But I mean, I got to go back, on that Friday, and Steve was perfectly happy and healthy, and I think took about 4 photos of Kermit.
That's great. That's great. We the first Muppet set I'd ever been on was Letters to Santa, and near the end of our day there, we asked Steve if we get pictures with Kermit, and in that movie, Kermit is wearing like a parka, and so he's like, yeah, here we go, and then he's like, you know what, this isn't right, and so he went and he put the puppet back, and he had the Wranglers find the naked Kermit. And then he brought naked Kermit out and like got Kermit up on my shoulder and got a photo that way, which is like one of my favorite things in the world now that even exists. But like really cool of him to just be like, oh yeah, here, like instead of just being like, hey, there's the puppet, take the photo, we're done. Like he wanted to make it like a special experience. So that was really cool of him.
Yeah. He made my day. He could not have been a better person. Like I talk about this again in the article, but when I was at the set, they put me around in this little area with a monitor and a headset. And like 30 seconds later, Peter comes and gets me because Steve has requested that I be like right next to him while he's performing during the show. I was like, okay, yes, sir. Not a problem, sir. And I mean, for what could have been me for 4 hours sitting there in front of a monitor, which would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
I actually be there. Like, there's a scene in the episode 11 where I'm literally that far off camera because Steve wanted me that far off camera.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
A great guy.
I do want to share a similar story. When again, Letters to Santa Day. So we had decided, I was there with Ryan Rowe, and we had decided we were going to try and stay as long as we could. Just I had already spent a half a day with them a couple weeks earlier, and this was now like we were on set, and we were like, you know what, we're not on the way. We want to soak this in. We don't want to miss out on an opportunity for anything. So we were there for most of the day, and then near the end of that day, we're kind of like off to the side, like just staying as far away from cameras as we can. And I hear someone go, "Joe," and I'm like, "There's a lot of Joes. Like they're not talking to me. It's fine, whatever." I ignore it. And I hear Joe. I'm like, "Ooh, it's one." No, they're not calling me. I hear Joe Hennes. Joe Hennes. And I'm like, "Oh, they're definitely calling me." And I see it on the floor is Dave Goles with Gonzo in the air, and he's like, "Joe, just come over, stand over here next to the camera. Like you get a better view." And so like Ryan and I are like walking over, and we're like, Dave Goles knows my name. That's the coolest thing here. And so the scene in Letters to Santa, I don't know if you know it very well, just because I've seen it like twice. But when they're at the airport going through security, and Gonzo goes through the X-ray machine, I am just off camera for that shot.
Yeah, right. Well, I told you this as well when I was at the set. Steve Whitmire said very nice things about you.
Nice things about me?
Yeah, he said I think I told you that.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah, I think you did. How could I forget?
Because we got talking about the fact that Ryan had to give up his job, and then we got talking about Ryan had to give up his job at the Mindset, and then we got talking about Muppet sites, and yeah, he said very, very, very nice things about you.
Well, that's good. That's very good. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, all the Muppet guys are so nice. I mean, not that I believe that any of it would be a front. But I guess there's always that fear that maybe they're faking it. But like literally every single person who works for the Muppets or Sesame or whatever, like all the puppeteers and performers are the nicest people in the business. Like absolutely. Like there's no ego. They're so talented, and they will give you the shirt off your back. I mean, just super nice folks.
I mean, Dave Goles came in and shook my hand, said hi, and he could have just done that and then left. He had no reason to stick around, but he's stayed for about 15, 20 minutes and had a full-on conversation about the show, about Jim, about Gonzo and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I thought to myself, just a genuinely lovely man. Like he's done this for 45 years. He could just leave right now, and I would still think, what a lovely guy. But he stuck around for 20 minutes chatting. it was mind-blowing how lovely they were. And it's genuinely lovely. It's not like, it's not a front.
Do we have any more questions from people? I'm trying to like keep an eye out for people asking. People are talking about Karen Prell. There's a joke on ToughPigs forum that Karen Prell is the meanest woman alive. Karen Prell, of course, is the performer of Red Fraggle, which is not true. That it's the opposite. That's why it's a funny joke. She is actually the sweetest human being in the world, but she's just horrible. She's mean.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but I'm going to. She was on set when I was there.
Cool. That's great. That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, she was one of the just ensemble of performers. Walked past. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was Karen Prell.
I think she'd be hard to miss.
Yeah. Yeah. She's a little ball of energy. It's great.
Yeah. I've always been proud to say that I've met all 5 Fraggle performers.
Yeah?
I've only interviewed 3 of the 5.
Mm-hmm.
I got a Karen and Dave, but yeah, super nice folks. And I mean, Kathy Mullen is a great human being as well. She doesn't really do Muppets anymore, but
yeah, I've spoken to her when she was doing the what was the charity she was doing? No Strings Attached or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. No Strings Attached.
Yeah, I spoke to her a few times on that just via email. She was lovely.
Yeah.
I've met Steve and Dave. I've been in the same room as Karen Prell, so I'm going to count that as meeting her.
Yeah.
The only one I ever missed out on was Jerry, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, Jerry, super nice guy. I chased him for a while for an interview. I'm just very lucky that it was one of the nice things about us being in New York. When he came in to do Sesame stuff, it was easy to just find some time with him. And like he and I literally sat down at this burger place and chit-chatted for a couple hours. And like really sweet human being. And then I remember it was like 6 months later or something like that. The Henson Company had the Henson Legacy had a CD release party for Jerry Nelson's album True Daydreams. And so I went and I went up to Jerry afterward, and I kind of did that whole like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. And he's like, Joe, of course, come on, stop it. No, of course I remember you. Like, we're old friends now. I'm like, oh, it's kind of nice, me and Jerry. So, so of course, like when he passed away, that's like the first, Muppet-related person who I actually feel like I knew who left us. So that still stings a bit.
And you went to his the memorial, didn't you?
No, I actually missed the memorial. I was in Seattle that weekend, and I could not change my travel plans. So I was actually really upset. Remember, it was the weekend of Hurricane Sandy, and I had to like haul ass and get myself out of Seattle and back to New York because I didn't want to be stuck in Seattle for an extra week. I wanted to be like home for the storm, which seems crazy. That I feel like a storm chaser. And Ryan Dozier was in town for the Jerry Memorial, and we had kind of tentatively made plans to hang out, but he wanted to get home before the storm hit. And it just so happened that we both changed our flights, and we were both at LaGuardia for like an hour overlap.
Oh,
so
okay.
That was the first time I ever met Ryan Dozier, was like in the food court at LaGuardia Airport, over like horrible Chinese food between flights. I don't know. It's weird.
Someone's asked a question which I like. Pitch an episode of the Muppets centered around your favorite obscure Muppet.
Pitch an episode. That's tough. We actually don't really do much. I feel like that's very fanficky, but let me think about it for a minute. If you have an idea, shout it out.
All right. The only one I'll say is, and I think I wrote this on a review. Just because they were using Fozzie so much, I was like, maybe we don't need to use Fozzie. Maybe use some of the more obscure characters. And this was just off the cuff, and I don't think it's a good episode. But what happens when Sweetums and Beautiful Day Monster get stuck in a traffic jam together? Stuff like that.
Does the whole episode take place in a car?
It should.
That would be amazing. That would be like an amazing test of viewer patience. Like, can you sit through 22 minutes that doesn't let you out of this car with these two characters that you kind of maybe remember their names?
Tell me that wouldn't, but you'd watch the whole thing, though.
Oh my god, I
100%.
would watch the hell out of it. It would be amazing. It's funny because like I think about my favorite characters on the show, and I don't want a whole episode about them. I like the fact that Uncle Deadly has a ton of mystery. You know, I don't want to know what happens when he goes home because everything he's like that comes out of his mouth is like super mysterious. I don't want to know more about Chip. I don't want to follow Scooter home. I mean, I love what they've been doing with Fozzie, so I would love to have more Fozzie or more Gonzo episodes, but they're lead characters. They're gonna have their episodes. That's not even a question. So I'm trying to think of like who maybe hasn't gotten a lot of love that would deserve it. Maybe Yolanda. Like I would love to see Rizzo and Yolanda having a little adventure. Or actually, thinking about Gonzo again, you know, if they were really going to stick with this whole behind the scenes of a TV show thing, like how about an episode that's all about Gonzo, Rizzo, and Pepe writing an episode of the show? Like that would be fun to see. We've only seen like, fun. But yeah, that would be cool.
There's some great Gonzo, Rizzo, Pepe stuff in episode 12.
In the ones you watched?
Yeah, so not the next one, the one after that. Yeah, there's some really, really good stuff that I think is going to lead to some great stories.
Cool. That's good. I mean, from the description, which is public, it sounds like Gonzo misses his ex, Camilla. So I assume she's coming back.
Good.
Someone's yelling in your house.
What is my question about this legal? Oh, you're not asking us about the legal high. So there's a whole conversation on the YouTube page here about the legally
that they like to partake in a little bit of marijuana.
They are doing their impression of that Swedish Chef photo where he's going.
Has anyone ever? No, I'm not going to suggest anyone photoshops that.
To Photoshop? Yeah, that has happened. That is nothing new.
Has it?
Oh,
okay.
Very, yeah. No, that's yeah. That's a real thing. Let's see. Is anyone else going? Wikia Frog is saying they want a whole plot about Rolf. That's a great idea. Just because Rolf has been in the show so little, and Rolf, you probably are among this, but like he's one of my favorite characters. Not just Muppet characters, like characters of all time. I love Rolf the dog.
Yeah.
So to see him kind of relegated to like maybe they chicken with him once every 3 episodes and he gets a line, he gets a dog pun, you know, that's disappointing. So I would like more Rolf.
Yeah. And that's why I liked the end of Pigs in a Blackout. Is that the one? Where he like gives Kermit all that advice. It was nice to have that Rolf back.
Yes. And I think it's great to see him. Like, I mean, I think the bar atmosphere really fits him because he is the kind of guy who would give advice. But the show doesn't take place at the bar, so we need reasons for them to be at the bar. And then that also made me think about the idea in the first or second episode. I think it was the second episode where the newsman shows up selling cookies for his daughter's Girl Scout troop. And the idea that there are different Muppets working for different TV shows, like on the studio lot. And I feel like that's something that they kind of, I thought that was going to be potential there for bringing back more obscure characters, and then they didn't really do anything with it.
Yeah. Do you think, and this is just chain thinking, what was the name? Oh, Debbie, who Gonzo was.
Debbie, who was the only one-off character that we've had on the show so far.
You think it was weird that they made her a Muppet?
For that reason, yeah, because I think if like on the old Muppet show, it's exactly what they would have done. They would have built a Muppet, or they would have used an anything Muppet or a whatnot. But for this, like they have not. There's no history of that on the new show. So I feel like if they were going to create a new character, they would have that character come back, and they didn't. So that's weird.
So unless they're going to have something like obscure in the background of like, you know, Liam Hemsworth gets married. It's like him and Debbie in the background. I think, yeah, if we see her again, it'll be like that. But I don't think she's coming back.
Or at least like maybe Gonzo will start dating Camilla again, and then Debbie will show up and be like, oh, maybe she was the love of my life. Probably not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably not. So someone is suggesting that they bring Fozzie's mother out of retirement, and actually that reminds me of a point when they were creating not Debbie, Denise, that I was thinking about, and the idea that bringing in new female characters. So I'm not talking about specifically Fozzie's mom, because I do love Fozzie's mom, and it would be cool if they brought her back. But how every female character, for the most part, has been like a twist on a different character. So like Denise is like an anti-Piggy. I'm sorry, yeah, Denise, I got that right. Or Yolanda is like a female Rizzo. Or if we were talking about Skeeter earlier, Skeeter is the opposite of Scooter. And, Fozzie's mom is is Fozzie's mom. And I don't know why they're having so much trouble creating new characters from scratch. Like every other show has to do it. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I'm wondering whether or not this. I don't know. It's very hard to think about it without actually, being in the writers' room and asking them themselves why they're having so much difficulty. But yeah, no. I mean, like Denise, I thought was going to be a lot different than she was. I guess. I thought she was going to be. She's a little bit of a what's the word? Not a wuss or a wimp. But she's sort of a bit of a nothing character, I guess. Yeah. And I thought she was
kind of bland. Yeah.
Yeah, she's bland. And I guess I kind of thought she was going to be not like, because she's not anything. She hasn't really got a personality. She's not this like incredibly sweet woman who dotes over Kermit, or which really is the anti-Piggy. Or she's not kind of a little bit like Miss Piggy in that she has that, sass and spunk about her. Yeah, so I don't love Denise because of that reason. I think they should have gone a little bit different with her, but I mean, it's early days yet, and they still could.
Yeah, and Evan is pointing out on chat here that in I think episode 11 or maybe it's 12, we see Big Mean Carla, who is another female version of a male character.
Yeah,
which is funny, and I'm assuming that she's going to be a one-off character, but I don't know.
But I mean, without giving anything away, she's exactly like you think she is.
Okay, good.
Yeah, exactly. Someone's written more Trumpet Girl.
No, that would be amazing. Bring back the Trumpet Girl, and then don't give her her name. I want her to stay as the Trumpet Girl, like the waitress on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yes. Someone's written bring back Annie Sue.
Annie Sue would be great, but I feel like it would be because she was in the latest movie performed by her original puppeteer. Like, if you can't get Louise Gold, maybe don't use the character.
Yeah. What about like Miss Mousey?
I feel like they dug a hole for themselves when they created Miss Mousey. She was an ugly character with that bonnet, and it was obvious that she was like a sweet, possible romantic connection for Kermit. Like even her mouse, like her name, like Miss Mousey, Miss Piggy. Like there's a parallel there, but they didn't bother to write a character. They didn't bother to make her interesting. They didn't bother to make her look like she could be a recurring character. It's kind of unfortunate. Yeah. Also, she was a huge mouse. That was a big mouse. Like you got a problem if you got mice that big.
Sure, and I guess when you've got I was just thinking, well, I haven't got any mice characters, and then I realized that I'm an idiot.
Well,
and that they have.
Yeah, lots of rats. That's something.
There's lots of rats, which is the same thing.
Yeah, they're all
But I
the
mean,
same. Well,
any
also
excuse
they work for a giant mouse now, so you know.
that's true. But I mean, just any excuse to hear Jerry Nelson's female voice, that really high pitched, whiny. That was always a
Yeah,
great voice.
that's true. Although now, like you say, they have a bunch of female puppeteers at their disposal. Like they can
Mhm.
actually create female characters that sound like women, which could be a good thing. I'm in favor of that.
Yeah, I've been watching the Muppet Show season 1 again,
Hmm.
and they didn't really have any females performing, and some of the female voices are just horrific. They're great and they're hilarious, but they're awful at the same time.
This is true. This is true, especially in season 1. Whenever you catch Jim Henson doing a female voice,
Yeah,
and it's just like you're trying, but Jim, that one doesn't work for you.
it's not working, buddy.
Nope, nope. Uh, so also the conversation people are suggesting more characters that female characters like Hilda. That makes me think: are there any characters aside from Walter who have not shown up on the new show yet that you would want to see?
Have we seen? I don't think we've seen Link yet, have we?
No, not yet. No Link or Strange
No,
Fork.
Link or Strange Pork. I'm assuming we will at some point. I mean, they're
Well,
around. And didn't they say-
we know that they've shot some YouTube videos with the Pigs in Space
yeah,
character that have not seen the light of day yet. Um,
yeah.
Someone was suggesting Clifford. That's
I don't know that that's going to happen.
I don't know if I want that to happen. Maybe if they could somehow channel Clifford from Jim Henson Hour,
Yep.
but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Eric is suggesting Timmy Monster. That's an expensive character to bring back. They have to rebuild him.
The Penguins. You're going to like the next episode. That's all I'll say.
Oh, that's good to know. Trumpet Girl, of course.
Yep.
I want to know where Thog is. Where the hell is Thog?
I haven't even thought of Thog. Like, you've been to that set. There is no room for Thog.
No, no, but they film outside all the time. Just
Yeah,
have Thog
true.
like walk around in the background. You can't miss it. I mean, they have the puppet. I
Yeah.
don't know where the puppet is. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's just it's you have to like helicopter him over to the set.
Oh, how amazing would that be, though? Just
To
watching
see
that.
him flying over. Have you ever seen the footage of Mr. Snuffleupagus being
Yeah.
helicoptered in? That's kind of amazing as well.
That'd be amazing. I mean, who else hasn't?
Oh, so Matt is saying Constantine, Dog Lion, George the janitor, but yeah, Johnny Fiamma and Sal have been kind of MIA for a long time now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I remember reading something that Bill wrote. It may have just even been on Facebook answering someone's question that Johnny Fiamma, I think, obviously the puppets disintegrate over time, and I think he just became unusable.
Yeah.
And they like, well, when we need him, we'll rebuild him, but at the moment we don't.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if they made a decision that they weren't going to do Johnny and Sal unless they had Brian Henson, and Brian's he's busy these days with the Henson Company. And it's funny because I'm in a very small minority, by which I mean I might be the only one who thinks this. I think Johnny Fiamma would work perfectly fine without Sal. I think he's a pretty fun character. I'm actually not a big Sal fan. I think he's kind of obnoxious. But like Johnny Fiamma, like a guy who's a washed-up lounge singer, like I think that there's tons of potential there. But
definitely.
But it's true. Like, but Bill, I totally respect the notion that Bill might say, "I'm not doing it unless I can do it with Brian," and that if that's not going to happen, then keep the characters retired for now.
Definitely. What do you think about Matthew wrote about Constantine? How do you think he would fit?
I am of two minds about it. I love Constantine, and I don't want to see him go away forever. I want to see him return in some form. In the world of the show, I don't know if the Muppets is really a good place to have like a guy who likes to, who's basically like he's like a half a step away from a murderer, Maybe if they start to change things and like Crazy Harry is making explosions here and there like that, it kind of opens the world up to it. But it's a little bit too real for now for that kind of thing. And the other thing is that the movie Muppets Most Wanted it has like the whole plot is about the fact that there's this guy who looks just like Kermit. And so now that we have that thing solved, it seems a little odd that they might introduce a character that looks just like Kermit without having that be part of the story. Maybe there's a way to break that. It's really difficult.
Well, yeah, unless there's a way, and this is purely hypothetical, even something like, him as a body double or something for Kermit, or a stunt person for Kermit.
Yeah.
That I think would work, but yeah, with that persona that, I'm going to get all of you, it just doesn't work in this show.
I'm also, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit, the whole idea of creating this new character that's going to be in the new episodes, who's kind of going to be the main antagonist for the show for a little bit. I'm going to totally mangle the pronunciation of his name. I think it's Utkarsh Ambudsar.
Yeah.
The guy, the guy who's playing the he's coming to retool the show. And the idea of having a new character that can antagonize the Muppets so that Miss Piggy isn't always the bad guy is a fantastic idea. So if that ends up being someone like Constantine, maybe like Constantine, is working for the network as well or something like that. Like that actually could help the dynamic of the Muppets.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. All right. Pitch it. You hear us, Disney?
Are you watching? Are you one of the 16 people watching this right now? I mean, 16,000 people watching.
Oh, wow. Someone's written perhaps Constantine will end up with Denise.
That would be interesting.
That'd be interesting. Very interesting.
If only to give her something to do. Hey, somebody give Denise something to do. I think that's what she needs. I think she just needs something. Yeah.
Because what does she do at the network?
She's in. Oh, I forgot already. Advertising, marketing. She's in marketing. She's in marketing. She runs marketing. Yeah.
And you've never seen her do anything in marketing.
Yeah, and that's a problem with the fact that like most of the characters aren't performers in this universe. That like they're just kind of there hanging out. So I assume that's going to change a bit with the new episodes.
You give Denise, some marketing job where she has to do something for the show that, Kermit doesn't particularly like the idea of, and at least have that butting heads.
Right.
That's going to give her some sort of character, some sort of personality. Doesn't have to be butting heads in like a really Kermit Piggy way. But even that would give her something to do rather than just sit there and speak with a weird southern accent.
Yeah, for some reason. Yeah. Someone, the Muppet Kid here, is suggesting that Constantine works for a rival network. And actually, that's an interesting idea to have. Maybe there's another network that has a competing late night show.
Yeah.
And that would actually be a good opportunity to bring back Miss Poogie as well, maybe as the host.
What a thing.
Constantine is the showrunner. I mean, I've always thought, I remember when we first heard about Muppets Most Wanted, and we heard that Constantine was going to be the villain. Someone suggested, or I don't think I came up with this myself. I think I read someone else make the suggestion that Constantine would become the new leader of the Muppets. And then that would allow us to bring back Miss Poogie and all those other characters. And that actually could be really interesting if they just make doppelgangers for each of the Muppets, and they have this other show that's way edgier, because that's kind of the story of what they're doing now.
Such a great idea.
Yeah. So if that happens, we're going to credit the Muppet Kid for coming up with that one.
Good work, Muppet Kid.
Good work. You did it. Yeah, Bobby Benson is the band leader, says Kendall. That's a great idea too.
Yeah, I love that. Who was the Kermit?
Sorry, Kermit, you're out.
What are some of your favorite? We're talking about obscure characters before. what are some of your favorite ones that have been on the show? Just even in the
Favorite?
back.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a big fan of Angel Marie.
Oh, sorry. Which one?
Angel Marie.
Oh yeah, totally. Well,
Yeah,
I like
he's
that the way that they dress him makes it's like, oh yeah, you're totally like some like union guy who's just like moving blocks in the background. Um, I mean, I love seeing New Zealand, but it kind of depresses me to see him not being New Zealand. Uh, and I've always had a soft spot for Beautiful Day Monster. He's one of my favorite characters to spot in the background.
And I mean, he's been around for years. Like, he's one of the original Muppets, really.
Oh sure, yeah,
People don't realize that.
yeah, that's true.
Great character.
Yeah. Well, it's actually he's not a great character. Is the thing. Like, who is he? Like he doesn't even have a real name.
The great design.
It's great design. Great puppet. Great puppet. All right, so someone is asking about what do we think about Sam trying to get his wings on Janice, and that's something that I was a huge fan of before I saw it, and now not so much.
Me either.
Yeah, so basically, the main thing I don't like about it is that with so few female characters on the show, I'm not crazy about the idea that every one of them has to be a love interest for someone. I think that's kind of limiting, and it kind of makes it so that all the female characters are only really there to support the male characters. And that kind of makes them all kind of a little more two-dimensional. So Janice was like the only one who, like, yeah, she kind of had this thing with Floyd, but that was never really mentioned. And now suddenly, like, Janice's reason for being is to be like a love interest to, you know, for him to someday, you know, have.
Yeah.
And the fact that like he hasn't done anything with it. Like he's just kind of like, oh, that would be nice, and he's got little floaty hearts over his head, and then the episode ends.
Yeah, no, it's and I find it's coming across a little creepy rather than sweet. I think they're intending it to be, this nice, sweet little side of Sam, but it's just a bit weird.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. He's like a half a step away from being a stalker.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially like when he said, you know, he was glad to see her get home. And she's like, well, how do you know that? And I went, oh, that rubbed me up the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah, he followed her home. Like, that's not okay.
No, that's
Sam.
Weird.
All right, so I think we should wrap this up soon. I'm going to give it. There's a bit of a delay between what we say and what we read on the chat, so I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds if you have any final questions for us. And in the meantime, we'll have a musical interlude. I don't know. I'll speak this very long sentence and hope that by the time it ends, we'll have a question up on the. Oh, wait, hang on. Wait, here, I got mine. Let's do a duet. Here we go. Look at us. Look at us, ukulele buddies.
That was great. Well done, everybody.
That was great. Wow, good for us. Good for us having ukuleles within reach.
That's an international duet.
All right, let's see. What are people saying? What's the worst decade of the Muppets? Well, that seems sad. That seems sad. What's the best decade of the Muppets?
Oh, the 80s.
The 80s? Yeah, probably. They were in their groove at that point.
I mean, he was still around. Frank was still around. They were doing, they made a couple of movies. They made a couple of specials that were all really good.
Yeah.
Whereas like the 70s, well, you could say the 70s, but I mean, they didn't do a lot for the first half. And then the 90s had a couple of things that weren't great.
Yeah.
And then the 2000s had Kermit Swamp Years, which automatically.
Oh, my favorite of all time. I watch it every day.
I'm gonna stop this.
People are asking also, let's see, what do we think about the fact that the showrunner is also the showrunner for Gallivant?
Now, I've never seen Gallivant.
Me neither. I mean, it's promising from what I know, just because Gallivant is a musical comedy. But
Mhm.
I think the reviews are pretty polarizing. I don't know why I put a pause in that word. Some people love it, and some people are like, this show is garbage, and I can't believe it got renewed for a second season. So
Okay.
maybe that's what the Muppets need. Maybe they need that kind of feel that doesn't really work in a medieval setting.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more question. What do we think would make another Muppet movie? I assume that means what do we think would make a good Muppet movie, not what do we think it would take to get Disney to actually approve one.
So, okay. What do you think would make another Muppet movie? That question confuses me.
What would you like to see in a third Muppet movie? Like, let's say, okay, dream scenario here.
Yep.
Disney goes to James Bobin, and they say, James, we want you to do one more Muppet movie. We want you to complete your trilogy because this is somehow important to us that the Muppet movies always come in threes. So, what do you want to do? You can do whatever you want. And he's like, Jarrod, but he says it with a funny British accent. And he says, Jarrod, what am I going to do about this movie? I got to have a pitch for Disney in 20 minutes. The future of the Muppets, it's in your hands, man. You gotta come up with something.
Okay, you obviously make it completely separate from the show. You have the Muppets as themselves and not as other characters. Well, I think that works in Treasure Island and what's the other one? Christmas Carol.
Yep.
I don't know that it would work to complete this trilogy.
Right.
I don't know. I think you'd have to, like I said, yeah, make it separate from the show would be probably the biggest thing because I mean, if you put in Denise or anyone like that, people would be like, well, no, that's for the show. That's not for the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And while we would at least appreciate it, I think a lot of people wouldn't, or a lot of people would watch it and go, "Who the hell is that?"
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I feel like the universe of the 2011 Muppet movie, Muppets Most Wanted, and the new Muppet TV show are all kind of they're all in the shared universe. There, I feel like you'd kind of have to continue it somehow. You wouldn't necessarily have to reference Up Late with Miss Piggy in a new movie, but like I feel like it's the same characters. But it's funny. So I worked the red carpet with Ryan Dozier for Muppets Most Wanted, and when we talked to James Bobin, it was when we met James when we said like, okay, if you're gonna do a third, what would it be? And he said something along the lines of like, well, I feel like we did, the Muppet Road Trip in the first one, we did the Caper in London for the second one. So the third one, we got to go to New York. And I was like, that's what I want. Come to New York, film here, and then let me hang out on the set. Maybe that would be cool too. But like, do it in New York. So I don't know what that would be. I don't know if they would be like putting on a new Broadway show. It would be interesting if they were putting on another Broadway show like they did Muppets Take Manhattan, and then actually put on a Broadway show for people to come and see. I think that would be kind of cool.
They've discussed it, haven't they? I know. Didn't they buy like the rights to the website or something like that?
Yeah, and it's definitely been workshopped, and I don't know what that would entail, if it would be the actual Muppet performers or if they work to a track or whatever, but that's definitely something that they have talked about that I don't know any details to, but that could be their opportunity. Tie it into a movie. And as we know, every Broadway play has to be tied into a movie nowadays, so,
It's true. Marnie wrote Muppets Down Under. 100%.
Yeah, there you go.
Bring him here.
Muppets Down Under is exactly like the 2011 Muppet movie, except they flipped the screen upside down.
Ha 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 ha. You're awful.
I am. All right, well, on that note, I think that's a great place to stop. It's been just over an hour, so if anyone wants to watch this video later, that's probably a good cutoff point for everyone's patience. So thank you to everyone who tuned in live to watch this. I thought this was a lot of fun. Thanks to everyone who's watching this later or rewatching it later. Maybe you're going to make this a regular viewing video. What?
Need to get a laugh.
Oh, jeez, yeah. And I don't forget to tune into the Muppets, right? Tuesdays,
Right.
8:30 Central. Slightly later
And-
than it used to be.
That's it. And don't forget to go to ToughPigs. I'm going to promote you. You can promote me.
Yes, and don't forget to go to ToughPigs. That's it.
Unless
No, okay, just go to Muppet Mindset as well. They do good work, and we also
we did
do
great.
ToughPigs. I got to say
And you did
ToughPigs.
great.
Yeah. So thanks again, everybody. Tune in the Muppets.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.